Okay, welcome to episode 134 of an Evolving Man podcast. Today I'm excited to be speaking to Roy Biancalana. Roy is a nationally recognized relationship coach, best-selling author, and host of the Attracting Lasting Love podcast. With over 15 years of experience, Roy helps singles identify and overcome the internal barriers that keep them from finding fulfilling lasting relationships. His journey into coaching began from personal hardship, navigating heartbreak, divorce, and unsuccessful rebounds, ultimately leading him to seek out coaching for himself. This transformative experience ignited his passion to guide others through their own relationship challenges. Welcome, Roy.
Glad to be here, Piers. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited to speak to you as I just think relationships for so many, but including my audience, it's such a powerful topic. And I often feel we give lots of attention to work or to our exercise, but very little attention to relationships. So,
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I think there are two major areas of our lives that we enter into with very little training, if any at all. And that is being a parent. If you get to be a parent, you, you never trained on how to do that. And we're not trained much on how to relate, especially in an intimate way, with another human being. And these are two of the most important. They can be the most fulfilling and the most difficult things if they don't go well. And yet we don't have much training other than what our culture communicates through movies and media, and which is normally, in my view anyway, either worthless or damaging. So
agree.
So yeah, learning how to connect with someone and how to communicate, how to handle conflict, how to deal with our emotions, their emotions, um, that stuff is so important, and yet I find most of us don't really know much about that or been taught about it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's a bit like we go to school and we learn maths or trigonometry, but we don't learn how to relate or, how to parent or, even think simple things like how to balance a checkbook.
Right. Right. You know, in an ideal world, okay, you go to school and you learn math and science and history and stuff like that. At home, you would learn about relationships. Right?
Mm.
You would see your parents functioning in healthy ways, and there'd be conversations between your parents and you, maybe your siblings. And at home, you would get this training in the relational area. But that is very utopian idea because, if we are, I mean, most of us don't have parents that we would say, I want to model my relationships after what I saw them do, right? And so yeah, so we're not in a very good position when we become adults on how to connect with people.
Thank you. And I said before we began, a lot of my audience have been to boarding school or had some form of childhood trauma. They didn't even have their parents around them for 9 months of the year. It was just looking at other children
Yeah,
who were in the same boat and learning from people the same age as them. One
yeah,
lady called Ann Power, who's done quite a popular TED talk about attachment theory and relationships. And she was just saying that she went to boarding school age 6 and her attachment figure was a 6-year-old. She says that's not a good thing because that 6-year-old cannot protect you. It
yeah,
can't stop the violent offenders. And
right. And
so,
and I don't know about, boarding schools in your neck of the woods over there in the UK. I'm in the States,
mm,
but I'm assuming most boarding schools are for boys or for girls.
mm. It's
So
changing. It's
is it
changing. So
changing?
it's more co-ed. It used to always basically be split.
Yeah, and if it's split, well, then you really don't learn much about the opposite sex. If you're straight, heterosexual, because you're just around boys all day. And, boys process things and feelings and conflict together very differently than can be done with a female person. They, they very much process and express differently. And when you're not exposed to that and you don't learn to honor it and learn to understand it, um, then boy, once you get out of school and then you meet a girl in a pub or something, um, she can really feel like an alien. Like it's like because they see the world differently, they operate differently.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it just complicates things further
Yeah, yeah,
if
definitely.
it wasn't already hard enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'd love to go back and just for you to share a little bit, Roy, how did you get into this work that you're now
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah, I like sharing the story because I really want people to know, as a coach, um, this was never a lifelong dream of mine, right? When I was a little boy, 6, 7, 8 years old, I was never dreaming of being a relationship coach, right? I wanted to play baseball or be a fireman or all that kind of stuff, right? I never was thinking this. But the reason I got into it was I sort of feel like the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, sort of forced me into it because of my own journey.
Mhm.
So I have had a horrible history relating to women, starting with my mother. Maybe we get to that at some point,
Mhm.
right? But I've just terrible relationships with women. I was married for 19 years, and that relationship became quite platonic. We didn't really fight much together. We didn't F much together.
Mhm.
We co-parented and we were friends, right?
Mhm.
But there wasn't much man-woman connection.
Mhm.
So after a while, I don't think that was good for my ex-wife. It certainly wasn't for me. So I initiated a divorce. And that was the first mistake I made is I left that relationship and I didn't do any work on myself. I didn't do any self-reflection. I didn't do any counseling, therapy, coaching. I didn't look in the mirror at all. I was just in the mentality that it was my ex-wife's fault that
Mhm.
we had no sex life or anything like that. And so I immediately rebounded into another relationship, which was all sexual. Okay. Now, at the time, it was great because it had been so long. And so this new relationship that I immediately started lasted about 2.5 years. We got engaged, and about 6 months before the wedding, she broke up with me. And Piers, that one destroyed me. Okay, that one created literally like a year-long midlife crisis for me, where I couldn't sleep. I lost a bunch of weight. I became a lousy father. My profession, at this point, I was not a coach. My profession suffered. Heart palpitation. I was a mess.
Mhm.
Okay. Second mistake, I didn't do any work on myself after that one ended. I just blamed all my ex-fiance, blah, blah, blah. And so at that point, I was in so much pain. The only way I knew how to deal with my pain was I'm just going to go try to find me a new woman to help me forget the last one. So I did a bunch of online dating and I thought that I was available and that I was really wanting to find someone. But looking back, I was single, but I really wasn't emotionally available, right? I was still hung up and still getting over my ex-fiance and I was actually using these new women I met to help me forget the last one. So you can imagine the amount of drama I caused because I was giving off mixed signals. Oh, I'm here, but then I'm not really here, right? So it was just a mess. At this point, one of my best friends said, hey, Roy, do you think maybe you ought to talk to someone? Because I was telling him about all my life drama with women.
Mhm.
And Piers, I got to tell you, it makes me laugh now. But when he said that, I was like, for what? Like, what, what? Because in my mind, my relationship history and my problems were everybody else's fault. Oh, my ex-wife was asexual and my ex-fiance was a workaholic. And then, oh, you crazy women online, you have all your problems. It never occurred to me that such an ego thing here. It never occurred to me that I was the common denominator in all of the pictures.
Yeah.
It never occurred that maybe I had something to do with it. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, I did agree to hire a coach. Two reasons. One, I did trust my friend. And two, I was in so much pain. What the hell? I'll try it. I mean, I've done everything else to get a meaningful relationship and nothing's working. And when I sat down with my coach, I think maybe the first or second session, she was a little familiar with my story. Um, and she's like, Roy, I don't want to hear about your exes.
Mhm.
If all you want to talk about is tell me how your ex-wife was this or that, your ex-fiance was this or that, and all these crazy women online, I'm out. I want to know if you want to look in the mirror. I want to know if you're interested in knowing what you're doing, consciously or unconsciously, to attract this history into your life. I want to know if you want to work on you. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, Piers, initially I thought that because
Mhm.
I heard it like, you blaming me for all this? You don't know my ex. You don't know this. You don't know that. And she just stuck to her guns. She's like, I'm not saying the other people in your life didn't have any issues. I'm saying, do you want to work on you?
Mhm.
And if you do, we can go forward. If you don't, there's no use, right? Because you're not willing to look in the mirror and you're just going to complain. And I'm not interested in just hearing you complain. Okay. So she held a pretty hard line with me. And so the punchline of all that is I did soften eventually, and I was willing to look in the mirror. And lo and behold, Piers, it was me.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they did have their issues, but I discovered that I had mommy issues that I was not aware of. And I was playing out my dysfunctional relationship with my mother in all my adult female relationships. And when I saw that, by seeing it, the self awareness allowed me to work through that stuff pretty easily.
Mhm.
And then I was able to meet and date and fall in love with and marry a woman I've been with now for 17 years
Beautiful.
fairly quickly after seeing my patterns and seeing what was going on with me when I looked in the mirror, right? So that's just a long way of saying, Roy, why'd you become a coach? It's because I want to help people who are like me,
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
who have had a terrible relationship history, have thought it was everybody else's fault, but are willing to look in the mirror because by doing that, it transformed my life so much. It's like I want to do for other people what my coach did for me. It's as
Mhm.
simple as that. I kind of felt like I had to become a coach, like because I discovered something, I saw something, I learned something about myself, and I thought, you know what? I bet you there's thousands of men and women just like me,
Mhm.
right? And I feel like I can take what I learned and how it changed my life because Piers, I didn't get lucky, right? I didn't, the gods didn't smile on me. I did a particular kind of work that is transferable.
Mhm.
So I just tell my clients, hey, you do the work that I did, you can get the same results I got. Because it wasn't about me, it was about the process I did and what I looked at in my life and the type of questions I asked myself that led to my aha moments and changing the entire trajectory of my love life. So
Mhm.
that's
Thank
why I'm a
you.
coach.
Thank you. That's a very inspiring story. And I love that I think it's Robert Bly. I know it's Robert Bly in his book Iron John says that it's often the gold that we have to give to the world is often from our wounding,
Yeah.
you know.
Love that book. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. I haven't. I, it's one of my most referenced
I love
books.
it. Oh, you're my
Yeah,
kind of guy. Yeah.
yeah. I've kind of started to write my read my books slightly differently because I those notes it's a bit I've no idea where anything is in there. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, it's a brilliant book. So, I mean, one of the things is you're talking there is like about relationships. We don't learn about relationships. So, what would you say are the foundations that we really should have learnt at school or from our parents? What are
Yeah,
they?
there's a number of them. Um, I think it won't feel like it's a relationship skill on the surface. But when you get down to understanding what it is I'm going to say here, you see it's a foundational type of thing.
Mm,
And that is the willingness to take radical responsibility
mm,
for your own experience, for what's going on in your own life. In other words, to not allow yourself to play the victim,
mm,
to think that what's going on in your life is the result of things happening to you, feeling like you're at the effect of my parents, my society, men, women, the dating scene, all of that. The willingness to say that I take radical responsibility, that life isn't happening to me, it's happening by me.
mm.
Right? When you have that mindset shift, and it's a shift because most of us live in a victim mentality.
We
It's
do.
it's sort of what's taught in our culture to blame and point the fingers and all that kind of stuff. But when you make the shift to say, I'm going to take radical responsibility for what I'm experiencing, that that changes the way you relate. Because one of the things that can really damage a relationship, maybe more than anything else,
Mm.
is blaming,
Yeah.
is fault finding, is finger pointing. So we're having this issue and it's your fault. Well, you did this. Well, you didn't do that. You know, and you know how most egos work. When someone says it's your fault, unless you're very present and very evolved, you're going to say, well, don't you make it be about me. You did this and you did that. And now you get drama is arguing about whose fault it is,
Mm,
right? We're
mm,
trying to, who's the victim, who's the villain,
mm,
right? You relationships don't work in that mindset.
mm,
So
mm,
you break out of that victim villain mindset by deciding I'm going to take responsibility. So if something happens, I want to become curious as to what am I doing to set this up? What am I doing or not doing, or believing or not believing, or what am I not aware of in my life that is playing a part in getting us to where we are, getting us in this argument or facing this challenge, right? So, this is a very difficult thing for the ego to
mm,
really take ownership for what's being created and what's being experienced. But I find that when you do that, when you say, I am just not going to blame anybody or anything for what's going on in my life,
mm,
it's not happening to me, it's happening by me. Once you do that, the evolved mind goes immediately to curiosity. Okay, so if I'm responsible for this, how or why am I doing that?
yeah.
What am I missing? What am I believing or not doing? Or what boundaries have I not set? Or what communications have I not offered? Or what emotions have I not felt? Like you become very curious about how you're setting it up. And that leads to aha moments all the time because you are creating your reality, whether you know it or not, you are. But you have to be willing to look for it and be curious as to what you're missing about yourself. That was my story with all my relationship history. It was all their fault. And
Mm,
as long as I'm doing that, I never see anything because I'm not looking over here. But the minute I say, all right, how am I responsible for a 19-year marriage that was platonic? Okay. And how am I responsible for the dynamics between me and my ex-fiance? How am I responsible for all the drama that's going on and the difficulty of online dating? See,
mm,
that turns the mirror on me. And I find whenever I look at myself honestly, answers come,
mm, mm,
insights happen. It's like, oh, that's how I got to my mommy issue. I would never have seen that that was the root cause if I hadn't taken responsibility for creating what I was doing and then looking for why in the world or how am I setting it up like this, right?
mm,
But the minute I look, the minute I see it. So I think responsibility, curiosity are two sides of the same coin. And I think that might be the foundational relationship commitment.
mm,
Before we talk about how to communicate or handle conflict or deal with emotions or differences between men and women or whatever, you got to have the foundation that I'm going to get in this relationship. I don't care if it's with your boss, with your kids, with your best buddies or girlfriends, or an intimate partner. Whatever's going on here, I'm going to take responsibility for it.
mm.
That doesn't let anybody else off the hook for their junk, right? But you're just minding your own business. What's my part in this?
Yeah.
That foundation gives you the chance to connect with people in a healthy way because you will not start blaming people.
Mm. And it's like we kind of when we're in victim, we're very much powerless. And then suddenly when we take responsibility, we become powerful because, oh, I can change things. And I've seen
Correct.
this with my clients over and over again. It's like when they realize that they're creating the situation, whether it is business or relationships or health, it's like, oh, the buck stops with me. I can do something, and it's so empowering.
Right. Absolutely. That's the joy, I think, that's discovered on the other side of taking responsibility
Mm.
is you have this awareness like, okay, so if I did this, well, then I can change it because I'm the one doing it, right? When you're a victim, it's like, no, it's happening to me. So what the hell am I going to do? Well, I
Mm,
can't help it. I was raised this way. Oh, I can't help it. Men or women are like this, or God did.
mm,
I'm effed, right? There's no way out if I see myself as a victim. And it's just the mindset and it changes everything.
mm. Thank you. So if that's the foundation, it's kind of responsibility, it's the other word I didn't write down, but
Curiosity.
curiosity. Are there any others that you would teach or you would
Oh, yeah.
ask the parents? What else would you
Right.
add in there?
The one I go to the most that seems to come up the most with my clients, because a lot of times my clients that I work with are between 40 and 65, and they've been through some relationship heartache, a divorce, being dumped, broken up with, they've had some real relationship problems, and often they're single again for the first time, maybe in years, okay?
Mm,
And they often say, I don't even know how to date, Roy, or something like that. And so it just leads into the whole issue of communication. And I just call it the radical commitment to candor, the
mm,
radical commitment to raw and real authenticity, right? People say, oh, dating's hard. How do I date? And it's not hard if you just have the commitment. I'm just going to be real.
Yeah.
Whatever's happening in here in Royville,
Mm,
I'm going to reveal to this person. If I'm scared, I'm going to say I'm scared. If I'm angry, I'm going to say I'm angry. I mean, whatever's going on in me, I'm just committed to not playing games. I'm I'm not going to conceal in order to control. This is what happens with our communication. Why candor is so frightening for most of us is we realize that if we get authentic and we get real, we become vulnerable.
Mm.
We lose control.
Yeah.
Well, how are they going to react if they know that I feel this way? Roy, I'm on a first date and I'm just totally smitten with this guy. I mean, I'm already thinking our children would be beautiful or something, right? And I can't let him know that I'm into him on the first date. I'm like, why not? Is it true or not? Well, yeah, it's true. But if I say that, I don't know what he's going to do with it. Maybe he'll think I'm needy. Maybe he'll take advantage of me. Maybe he'll run away and scream like, ah. I'm like, if you want to be an evolved person,
Mm.
then you don't care what the person does with your authenticity. I'm just committed to being real with you. And if it doesn't work for you, then I guess we're not a good match.
Yeah.
But most people say, I want them to like me, right?
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of want to get what I want. So I'm going to say this, but not that.
Mm.
I'm going to show this part of me, but not that part of me. I'm going to start playing the game and manipulating. I'm going to conceal in order to control. And I'm then going to have to calculate what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? When am I going to say it? In what way should I say it? Right? That's exhausting. You want to hate dating and relationships? Do it that way
Mm.
because you have to figure it out. And then, oh my God. And then not every person's the same. So you got to play a different game with this person than you might with that person because you don't know what they like. And it's, it's a mess. But if you just say, I'm just going to be real. It's
Yeah.
the easiest thing in the world. It's just frightening, right?
Mm.
So this is the foundation in a relationship is I'm going to live out loud with you.
Mm.
I'm going to make my inner experience public. I'm just going to share with you what's happening in Royville.
Mm.
And then we're going to take it from there. And the beauty of that, and this is where this is one aspect of the law of attraction that I actually like and agree with.
Mm.
Because I got a lot of problems with that thing. But that might be another discussion for another day. But the law of attraction just means like attracts like,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Birds of a feather flock together. What that means is if I'm committed to relating authentically, that's going to be a turn on to someone who wants to be in an authentic relationship. They're going to love it. You mean I can be in a relationship with you and I'm never going to guess what you're feeling or thinking or wanting? Like you're going to tell me? You're just going to live out loud? Oh my God, where have you been my whole life? Right? So you will attract someone who likes to play the authenticity game,
Mm.
but it will really turn off people that don't want to play that game.
Exactly.
That's a good thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they're wanting to play the other unconscious game and you don't want to play that game. So be real, be authentic. And if they get drawn to that, now you're in a relationship where you both want to do it the same way and you're compatible in the ways that actually matter.
Mm.
And it will turn off the people that are like, oh my God, no, you're too much for me. you're you're too honest, you're too forward, you're too vulnerable, whatever it might be. Well, then good, you're not a good match because you
Yeah.
want to live a life a certain way and they don't,
Mm.
right? So the commitment to be raw,
Mm.
to be real is, I think, another foundational type of thing. But it really is frightening to really, I call it dating naked.
Dating naked.
Like nothing's
And it,
covered up here. There's I'm just exposed to you. It's like here
mm.
I am. You know what I mean? Now, I I should say this doesn't mean you reveal things that are nobody's business on a first date. Like
Yeah.
you don't tell somebody how much money you make on a first date. You don't tell them where you live on a first date. So I'm not talking about revealing things that are not appropriate for the stage of a relationship. I'm just saying you're going to know how I feel about you and you're
Mm.
going to know what I'm thinking and you're going to know what I want. Because here's what happens all the time. Women always have to ask men, like, so where is this going? Right? Let's have a talk. How do you feel about me? And I challenge my men clients all the time. If a woman ever has to ask you how you feel about them or where your relationship stands, you have failed in your commitment to create order out of chaos. You've failed in your ability to let her know who you are, what you want, where this is going, right? But it also goes for women too. Playing any games, be coy. A man should know, are you into him or not? Are you happy or not? Are you upset about something or not? Right? So it sounds very easy on paper, Piers. Doing it's a different story.
It is, it is. And thank you, Roy. If you're already in relationship, so you've been married 17 years, I mean, what about if you're in relationship? Does the same level of candor, maybe if you've not been open to begin?
Yes. And I could definitely see someone hearing this and really liking it and thinking the wisdom in this approach and saying, but me and my partner haven't been doing it this way.
Mm,
We've been playing more games and stuff. And there's just an opportunity to shift and start over and begin again at every moment of a relationship where you can sit down with your partner and say, I don't think that I've really been honest about myself and about how I'm feeling and what I'm wanting and thinking in our relationship. And I think that's damaged our relationship. I don't think I've really shown up fully here. I want to change that. And I don't know how you're going to feel about it because some things I have to say might not, you might not like, or they might be uncomfortable, or they might open a can of worms that we're going to have to deal with. But I'm just finding in my growth as a person, I want to be I want to be more candid and more honest and more raw and more real. Do you want to go in that direction with me?
mm, mm.
Right? And that can lead to a hell of a conversation.
Yeah, yeah. And a hell of a healing as well.
Potentially, yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Candor doesn't always end up producing greater intimacy between people
Mm,
because the candor could be, um, I don't love you anymore and I want a divorce. Now I'm being honest. That's my truth. I don't love you anymore and I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Right? What candor does is it brings clarity. It
mm,
it
mm,
brings a connection around truth, right? Now, most of the time, it really does produce greater intimacy. You're naked and unashamed, like it says in the Bible in the beginning, right? But sometimes the candor can lead to a radical change in a relationship, but that's probably for the best. I mean, and there might be pain, there might be hurt, but at least there's more of an honesty about what's really going on here and what we both really want. Yeah.
Thank you. So you've written a new book, Quantum Questions. I'd love you to just talk us a little bit through that. What's the book about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, how
Yeah.
was it to write it?
Right. This is a book that I could never have written when I first started coaching like 20 years ago.
Mm,
But having been a coach for a couple decades now,
mm,
and as a coach, you give clients and they ask questions.
mm,
They have things on their mind, they have challenges, and they're asking questions. And what I've learned is my clients too often they ask good questions, but they're not the questions they should be asking. Okay.
mm, mm,
So, as an example, and this is a totally made up story, it's not true, but the the viewer listener could just imagine this. Imagine that I'm a former triathlon Ironman champion. Okay. Not. God, I have a car. I don't want to run, walk, swim. No. Okay. I'm a former Ironman champion. Now I'm retired and
Mhm.
I coach aspiring triathletes, people that want to do triathlons and do well in them. And because I'm a former champion now, you must know what you're doing. So they come to me and say, Roy, could you coach me on how to be successful in my upcoming triathlon? Oh, sure, I'd love to talk to you about that. Okay. So we sit down and they start asking me questions about race day. Like, how do you survive in the water? Because it's a frenzy. And then how do you transition to the bike and the bike to the marathon? And then you're out there all day. So what do you eat? How much do you eat? Water, where do you speed up? Where do you slow down? And they're asking me strategy questions about race day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And as a former champion, I'm like, okay, those are good questions, but that's not what you should be asking me about. You should be asking me, how do I get my butt in shape for this?
Yeah.
Because if I'm on that starting line and I'm 50 pounds overweight, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to go the distance. I don't care how good your strategy is. You've got to be in shape for this thing, right? That's what happens to me as a relationship coach. I've learned over 20 years, people come to me and they ask race day questions. Hey, Roy, where do I go to meet someone? What online platform should I use? And how do I write a profile? And then how do I get someone to approach me? Or how do I approach them? Or how do I flirt? What do I say? I'm like, all right, those are good questions. That's not what you should be asking me about.
Mhm.
You should be asking me, Roy, how do I get myself in shape for
Mhm.
something real? How do I get ready for something real? Because you eventually are going to stand on the starting line of a relationship. However it happens, you're going to be face to face with someone. And if you are not in relationship shape in that moment, you're not going to go the distance. You're going to create whatever dramas you've had in your past. It'll be like Groundhog Day, the same thing over and over again. That was my story of my life.
Mhm.
One bad relationship after another because I had never gotten myself in relationship shape. Okay. So seeing that people ask the wrong questions, I sat down about a year and a half ago and said, well, what are the questions that people should be asking themselves if they really want to end up attracting a healthy, sustainable relationship? And so that's what led to quantum questions. How answering 7 radical questions leads to attracting a healthy, lasting, intimate relationship. So there's 7 big questions, and you won't be surprised to know that they're all about you.
Yeah, of
They're
course.
not about where do I find someone and all of that,
Mhm.
right? Because you first got to get yourself ready. Okay, then we can talk. And I find, Piers, when we're ready in here, when we're
Mhm.
committed to taking responsibility, when we're committed to being authentic and that kind of stuff, the rest of it takes care of itself. The
Mhm.
rest of it just becomes a non-issue. The issue is, am I ready for something real? Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'd love for you to tell us what some of
Some of
these
the
7
questions.
questions
Let
are.
me, let me grab a copy. It is right there.
Cool.
So, yeah. So, interestingly, too, though, the questions in the book, all but one of them apply to people who are already in relationships. Because it
Right.
really doesn't matter. I'm single. I want to find someone. I've been married for 15 years, right? It's still about working on you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
about after 15 years, I got to change my spouse. Right? It's still saying, how am I responsible for the marriage that I have got and the way we're functioning? Right? So 6 of the questions apply to anyone in any relationship status. There's one of the questions is, why am I single?
Yeah.
And maybe we
Yeah.
start with that one.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is, it's such a bold and obvious question. Like, why am I single? Right? And this gets into that responsibility thing. If you're a victim, you're single because, well, I just haven't met the right person yet. The stars haven't aligned. Oh, I work too many hours. I think in the book, I come up with 30 victim statements, right?
Mm-hmm.
I work too much. I travel too much. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I mean, I come up with all kinds of reasons that the mind comes up with as to why you're single. But the first one is because I just haven't met the right person yet. That's a victim mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The person who takes responsibility says, what am I doing to not meet the right person yet? It's not happening to me, it's happening by me. What am I doing to keep myself single? Right? And that's the question that I ultimately got in touch with when I worked with my coach. Oh, because I got mommy issues. That's why I'm single. That's why my love life sucks, is because I have a real dynamic with the feminine that's not healthy, that is fear driven and anger driven and all that stuff, right? That's why I'm single. It's not because my ex-wife was this or women are that, or I just haven't gotten lucky and met the right person yet. Okay. So that's a hard hitting question when a client comes to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're in the mindset, okay, Roy, you're going to help me find a partner. And they want to talk about how to do that. And I'm like, no, 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 back up the back up the train here a little bit. You tell me why you're single. And they can get a little taken aback by that. Well, I'm single because men are ugh, and women are ugh. You know how it is out here in the dating. You don't know what it's like to be in the dating scene. You've been married for 17 years. Okay. Do you want to shift into perhaps there's something going on that you're doing that is unconsciously keeping you from meeting the right people and connecting in healthy ways? Do you want to go down that track? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so that's just one of the questions.
It's
You
great.
talk
I
about
like it.
that one for days.
Why am I single? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and all the seven questions, Piers, they go from like the most foundational, the deepest questions to the most kind of surface experiential. So, like the first question is, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, it's a real question about discovering your true spiritual nature, like really waking up to who and what you are. Because I find when we're not grounded in who we are, we end up taking things personally. We end up getting in a lot of drama. We end up getting triggered by things. We get defensive because we have to defend who we think we are, our image and stuff like that. So the more evolved we are, just understanding that we are consciousness, that the self itself is sort of a fabrication, right? The more we get into our deep spiritual nature, the more we're prepared to function in a healthy way with another human being because we won't take everything so personal, because we won't be demanding that they meet our needs and heal our wounds, right? So we start with, who am I? Um, the second question is about learning to be present. I think the secret sauce in a relationship is the ability to be not caught in your mind, but to be present with another person,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be present in your own body, your own experience, but I'm present with you. Like I'm looping my awareness from me to you to me, and I'm present. So the second question is, what's here now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a simple question that brings you into the present moment. Like, okay, what's here now? So
Mm-hmm.
when I talk about being authentic and being real and being vulnerable, you can't reveal that to another person unless you know what's here now, unless I know what emotion am I experiencing right now? What
Mm-hmm.
bodily sensations do I have? What is that voice in my head yapping about right now? what is it that I want? If I don't know what's happening in Royville, if I'm not present with myself, then I can't reveal myself to you, right? So these are the foundations, who am I and can I learn to be present by asking that question, what's here now, over and over and over again? Because it equips me when someone says, Roy, how are you? I could say, I'm fine, right? But if I really want to answer that question, I've got to tune in and say, all right, well, what's here now? Well, I feel a little excited having this great conversation with Piers, right? I have thoughts of, I wonder if people are resonating with this. Do they think I'm nuts? Right? That's true. I have all that going on over here, so I can reveal it to you. Right? But most of us we don't pay attention to ourselves, and then we can't be present.
Mm.
Third question is, what's
Yeah,
the
my
real
wife,
reason?
before you
Go
move
ahead.
to the third question, my wife used to say to me, the gift is the present. It's a present. This idea that the present is it's a gift. And
Yeah, right,
and it's like, oh yeah, of course. And I just see that is like when we're fully present with, and I see this with children, especially as their parents are on their phones, they're not present with them, and they're kind of pulling at their sleeves, and you're like, please just look at your child
right, right.
because they
Absolutely.
just want your love.
You can go to a restaurant or a pub or something like that, and people are on a date and they're both on their phones or something, or they're married, they're not really with each other. But it's even worse than that. We do that with ourselves. I,
Mm,
I can be lost in my phone,
mm,
and right. So it's so easy. Our normal state of consciousness is we're worried about the future, or we're upset or regretting or fretting the past,
mm,
but we're not here now, right? So it's just a fundamental ability to be not lost in thought,
yeah.
but to be present with what's real. And because then you can be real with another person, right?
Mm, mm,
So,
mm. Yeah, great. I love that. What's here now?
yeah,
Great
what's
question.
here now? The third question is the one that rocks people's world. And that is, what's the real reason you want a relationship in the first place? What's
Mhm,
the real reason? Because see, I've just learned from myself and from 20 years of doing this that we have surface reasons. I want emotional support, companionship, I want someone to enjoy my life with. And then there's the real reason that I want, which we normally don't want to face, right? And for me, the real reason I wanted a relationship is because based upon me and my disconnection with my mother,
mhm, mhm,
I was needing the attention and affection of a beautiful woman to make me feel like a man. It's like the real reason I wanted a partner was because if she wanted me, if she wanted to have sex with me, if she was available to me, because my mother took care of our physical needs, but she was emotionally distant. She just didn't have that in her,
mhm,
right? I've gone through a lot of work on this, and now I love who my mother was. She was doing the best she knew how to do, and right. But as a little boy, he wants to be connected to his mother,
oh, yeah.
um, and to feel love and warmth. I didn't get that. So my whole life has been about trying to get warmth and love and attention and affection from a woman. And you can imagine the amount of drama that would cause. I put so much pressure on my ex-wife to have sex with me and my ex-fiance because I needed they needed to fix me, right?
Mhm,
Now I
mhm,
wasn't aware of this crap when I was doing it. I was just messing everything up because of it. But that's the real reason I wanted a relationship. And until you discover what your real reason is, because everyone's got one, until you deal with that, it's going to muck up the works of your relationship. And that's what it was doing to me. But the minute I saw it, and then I could work on sort of healing myself, babe, it's not your responsibility to make me feel wanted and loved and valued. I got to do that work, right? And there's no pressure on you to do it. You just treat me, love me the way you want to do it. And it's fine. But that other stuff is mine to take care of.
Mm,
Once I was able to do that, I met a woman and we haven't had that kind of drama
mm,
because I never had I don't have a complaint against my wife that you're not there for me, that you're not affectionate enough, that you don't give me enough attention, right? Because I've sort of done the work to heal that part of me, at least a part of it anyway. I don't know if it ever gets completely healed. Childhood wounds, I don't know if they ever go away completely. But I do know when it gets triggered, I know how to handle that.
mm,
And it's not, I need my wife to be different. It's I need to find grounding within myself, right? So this is the kind of work, Piers, that I just feel is necessary
mm,
if you're going to have a decent relationship. You know what I
mm.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
You
almost
got to
like
uncover some of this stuff.
yeah, because otherwise, if we don't uncover it, we project onto that other person. It's like, well, why aren't you giving me that love, that
Right,
respect? Because, yeah,
right,
I need to find that within myself.
right. It's so common for people to have abandonment wounds. I mean, you're describing some of your clients in boarding schools. Well, there's an abandonment wound there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The ABCD of boarding school syndrome. The A is the abandonment.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're not aware of that, and if you don't do the work on not abandoning yourself and
Mm.
working through that, you're going to go out into the world and be looking for a person to heal that abandonment wound. And so when you meet someone, if they don't text you back right away, it's going to trigger you,
Yeah.
right? If they don't respond right away, it's like, what's wrong with me? Do you not like me? And then you're going to blow up their phone and maybe ruin the possibility of a relationship because you're so needy for affection and connection and attention that you're going to chase people away because you're projecting that onto them, right? So yeah, this is the kind of stuff that it's it's just it's the necessary work if you
Mm,
want to really get into a relationship that's going to be healthy and not have a bunch of drama.
yeah. I've noticed that since my wife died, is been feeling needy. Obviously, there's been a lot of grief, but I can just see that myself as having had someone always there, suddenly
Yeah,
not. It's like I can see that, and I keep catching myself not to react or not to just keep drawing back, keep drawing back. What's that within myself?
yeah,
And things
yeah,
always, like you say, play out, and they kind of, but rather than reacting. It's like taking
yeah.
that breath, taking that time to ground, as
Right.
you say, go for a walk.
Right. Yeah, being present with yourself and your experience of grief and longing and neediness. And I
Mm.
mean, that makes perfect sense. One of my best buddies, he's his wife was like a marathon runner, 54 years old. She got cancer, and within a year, she just died last week.
Oh,
Right. And he's
yeah.
telling me, in some sense, she was so sick for a year that we were both kind of glad because she was suffering. But at night, man, I'm all by myself in this house and it's hard, right? And like, yeah, dude. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's natural. You because they were together for 17 years also, right?
Mm.
You're used to her and now, yeah, so be easy on yourself. Take care of yourself. I'm like, dude, call me, if you want to chat, man, I'm around, right? So,
Mm.
um, yeah, these are hard things.
Mm.
Understandable from what I'm hearing from your experience.
Yeah, and I find that it's like that approaching, and I think I'm hearing that in your questions. There's a guy, a professor called Stephen Joseph, who wrote the book "What Doesn't Kill Us," talking about post-traumatic growth and post-traumatic stress. And I've used this a lot since my wife died, is approaching rather than avoiding. and running away. It's like leaning in, okay, this is painful. I'm really missing her. But by doing that, almost going through the fire, it actually, the healing, I feel like now, 5 months on, it's like I really feel like I'm coming out the other side, returning to joy. But I know if I'd avoided, just got on to work and ignored it, I would have never healed. I would have gone into another relationship and I just created chaos. So,
Right. That's a lot of what it means to ask the question, what's here now? You're
oh,
approaching your reality. Like
yeah,
what's real? Right,
yeah,
wrong, good or bad. Comfortable, uncomfortable, painful, pleasure. It's real. It's here, and I'm not running from it. I'm gonna feel it and experience it and let it move through my body and watch my mind if it starts telling stories that are, made up and harmful and right. So I like that. You're approaching your own experience.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think the better we are at doing that with ourselves,
Mm,
we become very, very good at doing that with someone else. So you can approach someone else like, I want to know you. Like, what's real for you? Now you're being present with them, right? And man, if you want to be a sought after partner, be present for someone else. Be
mm,
a good listener. Be a person that you're connected with inside yourself, and then you can connect with them.
mm,
That's what people are looking for. I mean, I should say people of depth. That's
mm,
what they're looking for is to be seen and to be connected to be heard.
mm,
And I just don't think that we can do that with someone else if we can't do it here.
mm. Yeah, yeah. So the other questions, I realize we're coming up for probably 50 minutes now.
Yeah.
Love you. So you've got who am I? We've got what's here now? What's the real reason you want a relationship? Why am I single? What are the
Right.
other
That's the
three
fourth one,
questions?
right? Right. The next one is a great question. It's what is standing in the way of my ability to be close?
What is standing in the way of my ability to become close?
Right. There's an old quote by a mystic poet by the name of Rumi. You've probably
Mm.
heard of him, right?
Yes.
13th century mystic poet.
Yeah, yeah.
And the quote that I have from him, he was speaking about 21st century dating, I think, when he said, "Your task is not to seek love,
Mm,
but instead to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you've built against it."
mm, mm,
So he's like, don't look for a partner, look for how you're blocking it. Look for the barriers, the self-sabotaging behaviors. Look at how you're not allowing love
mm,
to flow. So that's what this question is making you look inside. Okay, what's standing in the way of my ability to be close? Oh, I know what it was with my ex-wife, and I know what it was, but what's what are my barriers, my blockages, my blind spots, my baggage
mm,
that is standing in the way, right? And that is such a liberating question. It's a scary one to really ask, but once you start to see it, I really don't think, Piers, my opinion on personal growth and this kind of stuff is the hard part is becoming aware of it.
yeah.
The hard part is not getting over it or working through it. Most of us don't know it's there. And it's
Mm,
like the Wizard of Oz, it's behind the curtain,
mm,
turning the knobs and pulling the levers. It's controlling everything we do unconsciously,
mm,
right?
mm,
Carl Jung, he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's just the way it is. No, it's your unconscious is is directing everything. So this
Mm,
question is asking you, what sort of unconsciously, what are you doing
mm,
to that's standing in the way of your ability to be close? And then another question is, because now we're getting toward more practical. What
Mm.
is my relationship MO?
What is my
Yeah.
relationship MO? And
What is
for people in
my method
with
of operation? Like,
method of operation.
right. How do I do love? How do I do relationships? And I
Mm.
have a list in that chapter of 10 conscious commitments for dating and relating, right? Responsibility, candor, curiosity, these kind of things. And we have the ability to look at ourselves. Okay, so how have I been doing relationships? What have
Mm.
I been committed to? Playing games, blaming, withholding, whatever it might be. And then to kind of reset. Say, I want a new relationship MO. I want to operate by a more conscious set of principles. Because once you do all this inner work on why am I single and what's standing in the way, then you get down more to the nuts and bolts. So how am I going to relate to you? What
Mm.
are going to be the values and the commitments that govern the way I do it? Right.
Mm.
So that's a fun one. And the seventh question then is kind of a catch-all. What would I do if I wasn't scared?
What would I do? That's a great one.
What would I do? Because when you get right down to it, Piers, fear is what stands
Mm.
between everything, right? I mean, we're afraid
Yeah.
to tell the truth. We're right. So the most practical thing for a single person or a person in a relationship. Okay, so what would I do in my life, in my relationships, if I wasn't scared? Would I go up to that person and say, "You seem interesting. I'd like to go out with you on a date"? I don't know, right? I mean, would you address an issue that you have been avoiding your whole life? Because I'm afraid to look at that part of my life. You know, would you initiate a conversation with someone in your life that you know you need to have, but you've been afraid to broach that subject, but it
Mm.
needs to be done? What would I do if I wasn't scared? And the question doesn't ask you to do anything about it. Just imagine like what you would do if you weren't scared, and then see what happens once you're that honest
Mm.
about what's actually going on in you. Because I don't think most of us want fear to govern our lives. And once we see, dude, I'm just being a puss, I'm just being scared. And I don't want to live that way.
Mm.
What would it be like now to live beyond that fear? And I
Mm.
think that's when life begins to become quite an adventure.
I agree. I think a lot of my life, certainly the first 30 years, I lived in a lot of fear. Kind of growing up in the environment I did, it was very
Sure.
frightening, and therefore it's like, oh, this is just normal. A bit like the fish can't see the water. I felt like, yeah, just being in that fear. And I see that, yeah, so many people I come across are in that fear. And it's, yeah, I like that question. It's very powerful just to say, you know, what would I do if I wasn't scared?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
great.
what would I do today if I wasn't scared? Right? What would I do in this now moment instead of, projecting into some big dramatic thing of the future?
Mm,
Not just today. What would I do if
mm,
I wasn't scared? Well, I might have a conversation with my boss that needs to be had, or I might talk to my best friend because last week they said something hurt my feelings and I've been harboring a resentment towards them. And if I wasn't scared, I would go talk to them about that.
mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm. So as we start wrapping up, uh, what would you love to say, kind of wrapping things up from what we've shared? We talked about the foundations, talked about the questions. What would you love to leave with my audience?
Um, I would just say do your work.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
mean, do your work. You want to be a great athlete, man, you got to do the training. You you've got to set up a lifestyle to where you can be your best. And I kind of feel like if we want to live our best life personally, professionally, we got to do our work. We have to work on our blockages and our stuff. And And if you can do that without outside support from a coach or something like that, great. I have found that the kind of work that was necessary for me, I couldn't do myself. So
Mm.
I couldn't see my own eyeball. I was the one doing it. I needed someone to be able to ask questions and probe and poke and open me up to different kind of self-awareness that I was capable of having toward myself. So I just say, do your work, and if you need help, that's what we're here for.
Mm.
There are other
Mm.
people in the world that can help, but so it's not just, oh, you have to work with me or Piers, but I just, you don't have to go alone. And
Mm.
most likely having someone at your side, um, well, it's been life-changing for me.
Mm. Likewise, likewise. And I see that there was a quote I heard recently, someone saying about if you look at the Olympics, what's the one thing that all Olympians have in common? It's they all have a coach.
And probably a half a dozen of them,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Exactly. And
Nutrition,
nutritionists, yeah.
sports psychology, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a lot of professional golf in my background. Even
Mm.
golfers have an entourage of
Yeah.
short game coaches and mental coaches and nutritionists and fitness people, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
how you
yeah.
get good at something.
It is, it is, it is. So how do people find out more about your work, Roy?
Yeah. Coachingwithroy.com. That's the
Coaching.
easiest way. I've written 4 books. They're all on Amazon. If you just Google my name, Roy Biancalana, you can find all that stuff on Amazon. But coachingwithroy.com is right there, and my contact info is there, and
Great.
easy, easy as
Great.
that.
And I'll put the in the description, I'll put the link to your website, but also to your books. And yeah,
Oh
please
yeah,
do.
and my podcast too. Yeah, I forgot to
Oh,
mention
God.
the Attracting Lasting Love podcast. I think I've got 230 episodes or
Really?
something
Wow.
on there. Like I often tell people, after that many episodes, there is not a single relationship question that you could have that I haven't dealt with on that podcast. So, and that's free. It's just out there on Apple Podcasts and
Mm.
Spotify or wherever people get podcasts.
Have you had a podcast episode about boarding school um, syndrome and people who've been to boarding school in relationships? There we
No.
go.
So
There we go.
I'm incorrect, but I have had podcasts on abandonment issues and
Oh,
isolation and recovering from dysfunctional relationships with your parents and all kinds of stuff.
wow.
But not that one. Yeah.
Well, if you want to,
Add that to the list.
if you want to speak to me on your podcast, and talk about that, you're most welcome to.
Sounds like you know that one.
Yeah, that's what I've been studying the last 10, 20, 30, my lifetime. So, yeah, yeah. But bless you for your work. Really enjoyed speaking with you today. And yeah, please do reach out to Roy and go and read his books. And yeah, thank you so much, Roy.
Thanks, Piers.
Okay, bye bye.